Why you gotta do that, Joe? Just, why you gotta throw things at me? Well, hello once again, Internet. It is the one and only Romeo, back with another episode of Romeo's Discussions, taking another incoming fire from Joe the off-camera guy. Today I'm here to talk about a couple of things regarding the recent news. About the recent news concerning Avengers 3 will be split into two films. I don't know who the source is that initially stated this, but that is a terrible idea. That is a terrible, terrible idea. I'm going to call out another podcast show on this, which is AMC Movie Talk. Mr. John Campea, you, sir, are completely correct on what you said. What do they have to split in half? They have no script at this point. It is a concept. I fully agree with you, sir, and I'm going to bring a few more pointers as to why it's a terrible idea. But the initial fact was I'm going to be basing my opinions off of a counterpoint to a Cinema Blend article that I read earlier this week as to why Avengers 3 should absolutely be split into two films. The Cinema Blend article went into detail saying that Avengers 2 should end with Bruce Banner being rocketed into space as per Ultron's plans to disband the Avengers, as though that's not a very hard feat to do. You just have to turn them against each other, and they do it themselves. But then Hulk runs into the Guardians of the Galaxy in the next Guardians film. They return to Earth, and Thanos follows them. Thanos kicks some butt on Earth, and then, it all seems lost. Hulk and the Guardians come in, and that's the end of part 1 of Avengers 3. Part 2 concludes all of that. First of all, why would they feel the need to split it just at that one spot, where most of the film has already played out, and part 2 would simply be what Deathly Hallows Part 2 was. Just a nice, shiny, climactic final battle. Which, is fun, but doesn't give us a full chapter. It gives us the last 20 pages of a book. But then again, this is not a book, so what are we splitting? But I have to say that my primary reason for Avengers 3 being split into two films is a terrible idea, because it defeats the purpose of what Marvel is going for with trilogies. They're keeping most of their standalone franchises within trilogies. Granted, they're going into the spin-off of the Avengers, but that in it of itself is supposed to be a trilogy with this cast. Sure, they'll do probably Avengers 4, Iron Man 4, Thor 4, or something like that, but that'll be a recasting, future kind of event, rather than, let's just continue with Part 2, Part 3, Part 3.2, the stuff we left behind. Granted, yes, it is an expanded universe, but within that expanded universe are trilogies. Each film is made up of trilogies. Iron Man 1, 2, and 3. Thor 1, 2, and 3. Cap 1, 2, and 3, and then Avengers 1, 2, and 3. Breaking the cycle of the threes would not only be very odd for them to do, it would come off as purely a marketing ploy. It would be like, hey, granted we do make, $100 billion a year on these films, so let's just split it into two parts and, hope for the best. Again, granted, this is all very speculative, but the fact is that splitting the final chapter into two parts is a gigantic waste of time. And it's a waste of movie budgets. It's a waste of storytelling. Like, this whole thing with books being split into multiple parts. Deathly Hallows slightly pulled it off. They barely got away with it. Then Twilight Breaking Dawn decided to do that. That was terrible, even though I'm not a big fan of the Twilight films anyways. Then Mockingjay, they're splitting that into two films. Why? For pure money, people. That's all they want, is pure money. Just to be like, hey, we left you on the cliffhanger of this movie. Let's get you back next year. The Hobbit. A book that's about this thick is in 3 2.5-hour movies that are getting extended cuts. Why? Because all Peter Jackson wanted to do was go cha-ching. I just want the monies. Granted, he does love that universe, but 3 films, all it means is money. And that's all it would be for Avengers 3 being split into 2 films. They would just want more money. It wouldn't be anything creative to do with the story, and it would be a gigantic waste of what cinema has defined as a movie trilogy. A movie trilogy is a beginning, a middle, and an end. Most movies today are going for the end part 1 and then the end part 2. No. The Dark Knight trilogy, 3 films. The original Star Wars trilogy, 3 films. The Godfather trilogy, 3 films. There is something unique and dynamic about just keeping it to 3 films, because then it doesn't get jumbled up and crazy with, you know, more characters, more plot, more this, and so on and so forth. But those are my thoughts on splitting Avengers 3 into 2 parts. Can't even believe that this story actually got some traction. But let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will see you all out there.